Peter Pan by J. M. Barrie. Expanded story summary. In the heart of London, in a quiet neighborhood with well-kept houses, lived the Darling family, Mr. and Mrs. Darling, and their 3 children, Wendy, John, and Michael. The children's nursery was filled with toys, storybooks, and a very special nanny, a large Newfoundland dog named Nana, who took care of them like a watchful guardian. Mr. Darling believed Nana was only a dog, but Mrs. Darling knew she had a special sense for the children's safety. Each evening, after tea and baths, the children would settle into bed, and Wendy, the eldest, would tell magical stories of pirates, fairies, mermaids, and a mysterious boy named Peter Pan who never grew up. Unknown to her, those stories weren't just imagination. Peter Pan really existed. Mrs. Darling began to notice a strange boy peeking in through the nursery window at night. One evening, she even caught his shadow. She rolled it up and locked it away in a drawer. She didn't know it yet, but this boy was Peter Pan, the very one from Wendy's stories. He visited often to listen to them. He lived in Neverland, a distant island filled with wonders and dangers, and longed for the warmth of a mother. One magical night, when Mr. and Mrs. Darling were at a party, Peter returned to the nursery to reclaim his shadow. With him came a tiny, glowing fairy named Tinker Bell, whose voice sounded like jingling bells. Peter found the shadow but couldn't attach it himself. When he accidentally woke Wendy, she helped him sew it back with a needle and thread. Wendy was fascinated by Peter. He spoke of his home in Neverland, of the lost boys who had no mothers, of pirates, and of endless adventures. When she offered to tell more stories, Peter asked her to come with him and bring her brothers, John and Michael. "You can be our mother," he said eagerly. With a sprinkle of Tinker Bell's fairy dust and the happiest thoughts they could think of, the 3 children flew out of their nursery window and soared across the night sky, past Big Ben, across clouds and stars, and into the unknown, toward Neverland. Neverland, a world of magic and danger. Neverland was a dreamlike island, shaped by imagination. It had Mermaid Lagoon, the home of beautiful but selfish mermaids, Indian Camp, where the brave tiger Lily lived with her tribe, Hamman's Tree, the underground home of the Lost Boys, and Skull Rock, a place of danger and secrecy. In its waters lurked the giant crocodile, and sailing its shores was the dreaded ship of Captain Hook, a villainous pirate captain with a hook for a hand. Captain James Hook was Peter Pan's archenemy. Years ago, during a fight, Peter had cut off Hook's hand and fed it to a crocodile. Since then, the crocodile had followed Hook, ticking with a swallowed clock, hoping for the rest of him. Hook feared the ticking sound and loathed Peter, who he blamed for everything. When Peter and the Darling children arrived, their presence stirred excitement and conflict. Peter introduced Wendy as the Lost Boys' new mother, and she lovingly took care of them, cooking imaginary meals, sewing clothes, and telling bedtime stories. But not everyone was pleased. Tinker Bell, jealous of Wendy, tricked the Lost Boys into shooting an arrow at her, thinking she was a bird. Thankfully, the arrow missed. Peter banished Tinker Bell for a week, though he forgave her when he realized her actions came from love. Tink later proved her loyalty by risking her life for Peter. Meanwhile, Captain Hook plotted revenge. He kidnapped Tiger Lily and tied her to a rock to drown with the tide, hoping to frame Peter. But Peter, disguised as Hook, rescued her. Grateful, Tiger Lily and her tribe became Peter's allies. Hook then turned his attention to Wendy and the boys. He tricked them into believing Peter no longer cared for them. One by one, he captured the Lost Boys and the Darling children, taking them aboard his ship, the Jolly Roger. He offered them a choice: join his pirate crew or walk the plank. The final battle. Tinker Bell, still weak from saving Peter earlier, found the strength to warn him of Hook's plan. Peter flew to the ship, hiding in shadows. Just as the children were about to be forced into the sea, Peter revealed himself. A fierce sword fight broke out. With cleverness, courage, and a bit of fairy magic, Peter defeated Hook's crew. The captain himself fought Peter one last time, sword to sword. But the crocodile appeared again, drawn by the ticking clock Hook had tried to silence. Terrified, Hook lost his balance and fell into the sea, into the jaws of the beast he feared most. The children were free. Peter, now the ship's captain, let Wendy, John, and Michael sail home aboard the Flying Jolly Roger, guided by the stars and Tinker Bell's glow. The return home. Back in London, Mr. and Mrs. Darling had left the nursery window open, hoping their children might somehow return. One night, as if waking from a dream, Wendy, John, and Michael flew back into the nursery and were joyfully reunited with their parents. Peter, however, did not stay. He couldn't bear the thought of growing up. He promised Wendy he'd return for her each spring so she could come back to Neverland for more stories and adventures. But time moved on. Years later, Peter did return, but many springs later. When he arrived, he found Wendy grown up, no longer the little girl he had known. She now had a daughter of her own, Jane. Wendy was sad to say goodbye to childhood, but she understood it had to end. But for Peter, it never did. He invited Jane to come to Neverland, and she agreed joyfully. Like her mother before her, Jane flew off with Peter Pan, while Wendy watched, remembering a time when she, too, had soared among the stars. Themes and legacy. Peter Pan is more than a tale of flying children and pirates. It is a story about growing up, memory, freedom, and the magic of childhood. Peter represents the child in all of us, the desire to stay young forever, to live in dreams, to never be tied down by rules or time. Wendy represents the bittersweet beauty of growing up, accepting responsibility, love, and change. J.M. Barrie created a story that continues to touch hearts. Whether read by children or adults, Peter Pan reminds us that no matter how old we get, a part of us can still fly, with happy thoughts and a little fairy dust.